Let's go. What's going on, party people? Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. We finally made it to the end of the NBA trade deadline, which means it's buyout season. We got some basketball last night. We have a good understanding of what our rosters look like moving forward. Elfrid Payton is back in the NBA. Lots of exciting things happening. Who do we got in the chit chat this morning? I see Sneeps is here. Oh, we get some oldies. Happy birthday to the old heads, Steve Nash and Juwan Howard. Love to see it. Juwan Howard, man, I remember that was like one of the first rookie cards I owned was a Juwan Howard. I remember buying a Beckett. Remember the Beckett's? I remember buying a Beckett with Juwan Howard on the cover, and I was like, this is going to be worth so much. It's not, but at least he wanted to fight a coach later in life, you know? Matic Auto here. Stubbs, let's go. Happy National Bubblegum Day. Thank you, Snoopaloop. That's a fun one. Appreciate everybody who tuned in on the deadline show yesterday. Maddie says having the trade deadline during the second week of Super Bowl hype is nice. You know what's so funny? I think like a couple months ago, a lot of the podcasts that I was listening to, they were saying like, dude, the NBA just doesn't understand, dude. Why do you put the trade deadline right before the Super Bowl, man? I don't know why they were from Baltimore. We own this city, man. I don't know why they're doing that. I honestly, I haven't thought about football once, and now all of a sudden, football's around the corner, which is exciting. I'm excited for the Super Bowl now. And yeah, welcome back, Chet Holmgren. He's playing tonight. Jared, you got any indication of his minute restriction tonight? How is he a full go? What's he doing here? What's he doing here, man? Snoop said you got a meeting, so you won't be able to catch the whole thing, but just want to get your opinion if you agree the Bucks will take the finals in four. No, I don't agree. Here's what we got going on today. We got the NBA bit. You're here right now. At later today, I believe later today, our new episode of Hoopson should drop. I'm getting into the studio on the sticks here later today or later this morning to record another episode with our guy Trey. And then 5 p.m. we're back at it with Live Before Lock on the Elite Fantasy Hoops channel. But appreciate you guys tuning in. And listen, I appreciate myself for being here. You want to know why? Because this is a cruel and unusual punishment, okay? I am in a 40 and over basketball league, and the game started at 9:15. 9:15 p.m. Eastern. I mean, like, shouldn't there be just a general understanding? They got, it's all under this umbrella of a like rec league basketball. They've got like normal young people teams, like age groups. Why aren't they playing late? And then they can go out. It's Thirsty Thursday. They can get after it. Bunch of old heads showing up to gym, stretching for a half hour. And then you play a game. And I'll say the gym that I was playing at was like an hour away. So, or an hour on the train anyway. So I'm like, guys, I got home at, I got home at freaking like 11:30, 11:45, I think. Whoo, man. Okay, all right. Jared says Thunder don't typically do minute restrictions, so I expect a full go. Interesting. 40 and over your age. Yeah, and not only that, man. You played the other night, and 3/4 of the guys were early 20s. Yikes, yeah. So, and this was the other thing. We have a guy with a foot sprain and a guy who was sick, and then we had 2 guys traveling. We had 5 guys last night. 5 guys, and I shit you not, we show up. The other team had 14 dudes on it. 14 dudes. They ran like a like a half court trap the whole game. It was nuts. It was like a hockey game. They were doing line shifts, and they were all like 6'1". It was nuts. And then I got to tell you, one quick story about this. I am a very, you guys know this because of my NBA Top Shot days. I'm a very lovable loser. I'm okay losing. I'm a pretty good sport. I like to have a good time, make a lot of jokes. I'm still very competitive, but I'm not a psycho. You know what I mean? I've grown up a little bit. I'm not nutso anymore. They were up like 20 with like 4 minutes left. And I'm like, I just like pull up for a jump shot, like a 3 or whatever. Again, this game's over. We're just getting shots up now. And the guy closes out, but instead of like closing out to defend, kind of like dives at the, like almost fake, like he's going to spear me while I'm up in the air, just kind of runs at me like that. I lost my mind. I was like, dude, it's 10 o'clock at night. We can't be doing stuff like that. I was like, you guys are up 3 touchdowns. What are we doing? So that's the only time I've been mad this year. And I did run my mouth a little bit after that. But no fights or anything like that. I just made him apologize. I was like, come on, it's embarrassing. I was like, do you have kids at home? Oh, would you? Come on. You can't be a dad and doing stuff like that. Anyways, that's what we did. All right. Yeah, I'm sure that's why everybody tuned in today for more 40 and over stuff. There was a guy who was 40 last night that played better basketball than me, but we're not going to start with that. Okay. We got a busy slate here today. Let's get started. Yeah. Was it Lou Dort defending me? Seriously. Honestly, he looked like Lou Dort. He was stocky. All right, here we go. We're going to do some deadline winners, some deadline losers. We're going to talk old man hoops, but not me, old man hoops. And I think what we're going to do is just kind of share the standings while we talk through some of the winners and losers here from the trade deadline. I really was like trying to go into the lab and think about when is the last time we had a trade deadline that was something like this. And I honestly can't remember it. Sorry, my computer's being a little funky right now. It's freaking me out. I can't remember a trade deadline like this in my freaking life. I mean, this is nutso stuff. We had all of these moves yesterday. Just to like recap, right? And we'll do it like rapid fire. But these are the moves that I have written down anyways for like another thing. But we had Luka go to the Lakers, Anthony Davis go to the Mavs. The Mavs also acquired Caleb Martin while losing Quentin Grimes. Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, and some picks went to Charlotte while Mark Williams went to the Lakers. Brandon Ingram inexplicably went to Toronto. Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and some picks went down to New Orleans. Zion and CJ staying in New Orleans. You had Chris Middleton go to the Wizards. Marcus Smart go to the Wizards. The Coos went to Milwaukee. Jimmy's with a Warrior. Wiggins is in Miami. PJ Tucker, I legit don't know where you are, bro. Dennis went all over the place. I'm not sure where he is. Oh, Detroit now. He's at Detroit. Fox is a Spur. Levine is a King. The Bulls are still confusing. DeAndre Hunter is a Cav. Karis LeVert, Georges Niang is an Atlanta Hawk. Bogey is a Clipper. Excuse me. Terrence Mann, Bones Highland is a Hawk. Just like crazy stuff though. Like just move after move after move. Boston Base, you were late. The first thing I said was welcome back Elfrid Payton to the NBA, Boston Base. So why don't you set an alarm clock and get here on time? Garbage stuff from Boston Base this morning. Disappointed in you, sir. Disappointed. LaRavia to the Kings. Yeah, LaRavia to the Kings. Absolutely. DJ Peace here. Good to see you, man. Just like crazy stuff. Memphis, I got to tell. Well, let's just do deadline winners. Let's do it right now. I think Cleveland to me, tier 1A, winner of the trade deadline. They addressed a need that they had. They bring DeAndre Hunter. Very rarely, I think, do we see a team make up. I wouldn't say it's a drastic move, right? But they turn to the dial up a little bit while they're 51 games into the season, they've only lost 10 games, and yet they still added, a potential six-man of the year. And they gave up Karis LeVert and Georges Niang, who were absolutely rotation guys, right? So they subtract two guys, only add one. But the guy that they added, I think, is a clear indicator that they're like, hey, there's a good chance we play the Boston Celtics in the playoffs, and we need guys that can defend people like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And I'm not saying DeAndre Hunter, a lockdown defender or anything like that, but a step up from he's a step up from Karis LeVert, and Georges Niang, who I do think is like a solid rotation guy, doesn't have the lateral movement, I will say, the speed and tenacity to stay with somebody like Tatum and Brown. And again, I'm not saying Hunter's going to lock them up, but it's clear that Cleveland's like, hey, we get a shot. We get a shot right now. Let's go make a move. So I love that for Cleveland. They were a clear winner to me. It's hard to call the Lakers a winner yet because we haven't seen it, but I think they are absolutely a winner for getting Luka Doncic. So whether you think this is a move that gives them, and again, we'll do some power ranks later, whether you think this is a move that makes the Lakers a title contender, whatever, that's a different story. But for deadline winners to get somebody who is 25, almost 26, who is like the fourth best player in the NBA, depending on what your rankings are, to get him as he's entering his prime, right? Huge acquire for them. So I think the Lakers, and that, that pains me to say that the Lakers are a winner. But if you got two players this trade deadline, you got Luka freaking Magic. Luka Magic. And then you got my son, Mark Williams. They got Mark Williams over there as well. Now, I mentioned this yesterday in the trade deadline show. I love Mark Williams as a fantasy basketball player. I'm a little bit nervous with her. He averages like 2.5 games a season, right? He gets hurt all the time. So I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I think they're clear winners there by, shedding off some picks for sure. Dalton Connect, who, again, older than Mark Williams, which is a crazy story, right? But winners. Lakers are winners for sure. Let's give another winner out here. How about the San Antonio Spurs? Excuse me, the Spurs, right? So they add De'Aaron Fox with moving, the Minnesota Timberwolves pick. No real rotation players, so no disrespect to Trey Jones and Zach Collins, but to add De'Aaron Fox, who immediately looked awesome with Wemby, right? I think it just changes the firepower that this San Antonio team has. Again, when we look at the Western Conference standings, like, I don't know if they have a real shot to get into the playing game, but I will tell you, when we look at, right, so San Antonio now is just a game and a half out of the 10 seed, but they are 3-7 in their last 10. So, and they play tonight against Charlotte, I believe. I do think this is going to get even more dicier here. You see the Timberwolves jump up to the 6 seed while the Clippers fall to the 7. I think the Spurs are positioning themselves both for like a future run, because they still have all these assets to make another move, but to then add De'Aaron Fox with Devin Vassell, Chris Paul, Keldon Johnson, beware the Sohan. I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be big for San Antonio. I think they have a shot at getting into the play-in, because I do think we're going to see teams like Phoenix and Sacramento stumble their asses out of the play-in. But I do think the Spurs are pretty big winners. And yeah, DJP can't, like, I think that was one, and I don't want to go to losers yet, because I want to make sure but let's save this. Let's Spurs with the Atlanta pick as well. It makes them winners, but when we start talking about losers, we should get there. Anybody else that we need to, like, touch on here that made a move that you were like, you know what, this will impact winning? I think Milwaukee Bucks, like, I guess Milwaukee it depends how you feel about Kyle Kuzma. I thought something that was very interesting about, oh yeah, Torrey Craig to the Celtics, baby. Something that was pretty, like, funny about the Bill Simmons live show yesterday. I went back and listened to it later. It's two camps. One camp is that Kyle Kuzma, probably not that guy. However, Big Wazzy Lambre was all on Kyle Kuzma. I don't know if he's invested in Kuzma. I don't know if he's his agent, but he was big on the Kuz move. I don't really buy that too much. Pacers stood pat, right? We didn't see any Pacers moves. No real Knicks moves outside of Jericho Sims leaving and DeLon Wright arriving. I'm going to give Miami a winner. I'm going to put Miami in the win column. I don't know how people feel about this, but they basically were getting a 0 for Jimmy Butler for 2 months now. Jimmy Butler leaves. They add somebody like Andrew Wiggins to the pie or whatever, and Wiggins is somebody that can slot right into that starting 5, right? So that starting 5 now is going to be looking like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Andrew Wiggins, Kel'el Ware, and Bam Adebayo. I mean, like, it's essentially, I think the floor of the Miami Heat is the same. I think regular season Wiggins is basically regular season Jimmy Butler. However, playoff Jimmy, if that's a thing that still exists, I think obviously has a little bit more upside than what Wiggs does. But I think for Miami, just to get any sort of anything back after how this is playing out, I think you have to consider a W there. I think you have to consider it a W. So I'll put Miami in the win column. I think that's kind of it, though. I don't think we have any other winners in there. OKC didn't have to do anything. Denver didn't make any moves or anything like that. We talked about the Lakers. The Clips didn't really do. Well, no, let's give the Clips a winner. I think we'll put the Clippers a winner in there. Terrence Mann, Terrence Mann goes. He's on another team now. He's with the Atlanta Hawks, but Mann wasn't really, like, he was kind of redundant in the Clippers rotation. Now they add somebody like Bogdan Bogdanovic, who is a guy that can get buckets off the bench, right? It's a guy that can be a little heat check guy for you. He's hit big shots in big moments before. I think he's a good playoff guy. I'm a big Bogey fan, so I like that move for the Clippers. Again, just kind of gives them some more offensive firepower, because when you look at that Clippers team, if it's not, you're right, you got Zubac, Kawhi, Norman Powell, and James Harden. You feel pretty good about what they bring to the table offensively. After that, you're just like, man, well, hopefully Derrick Jones Jr. gets hot, or maybe Amir Coffey gets hot. They also got rid of that piece of shit Kevin Porter Jr., which I think is nice. You know, some people might say, well, hey, you could still bring a lot to the table. That's good karma. That's good karma to get rid of him. And then we should mention the Golden State Warriors, right? You add Jimmy Butler. Clearly, they needed to shake things up a little bit. You saw it last night in the game against the Lakers, which we'll talk about in a little bit. You know, they're so desperate for more shot creations, because if you have like more than one good defender, right? If your team could play any defense, you can really slow down this Golden State Warriors, because you're like this iteration of Golden State pre-Jimmy. You're relying on Pajemski to knock down shots, who just returned. You're relying on Moses Moody. You're relying on Guy Santos. You know what I'm saying? You're relying on a lot of guys like that. And I think adding somebody like Jimmy, whether you think he still has that upside or not, Jimmy can still create, right? Jimmy can still create his own shot, can still be like instant offense. He's a tough defender. He's a very cerebral player. I think Jimmy's a pretty sharp-minded NBA star player. And I think that will fit in well with the type of basketball, Steph and Draymond play. So I think it's a good win for them. Now, when we talk about power rankings, I don't know how much that moves the needle, but for the vibes of Golden State, they were so desperate for just any sort of positive news. They were in talks of trading for almost every NBA All-Star in the last 35 years. And so they get Jimmy. I think that's good. Sneeps and Boston Base talking a lot about Drew Peterson in the chat. Good for you guys. I'm happy for you guys. Let's go to some deadline losers, though, because sure, we started with the good energy, but I think the losers are a little bit more interesting. We're going to start with the Atlanta Hawks. And I think this is just like this is an overall loser energy for the last 5 years or whatever. Yes, you did trade DeJounte, and you got Dyson Daniels back, right? And you got some assets from them. And so you got to feel good about that, right? But you lost a bigger trade before you won that trade. And if you remember when they acquired DeJounte Murray, as DJP pointed out a little bit earlier, when they acquired DeJounte Murray, they gave up an unprotected first-round pick that comes to fruition this NBA draft, right? So they don't own their first-round pick. Jalen Johnson is out for the year. They moved off of DeAndre Hunter, who is now, again, with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Bogdan Bogdanović is now with the Clippers. They added Terrence Mann and Bones Highland from that. And so Karis LeVert and Georges Niang, right? This is a team that they still somehow inexplicably have Clint Capella. They kind of just said, hey, listen, man, we know we need to get some assets back for some of these guys that we have right now. And whether we hold on to DeAndre Hunter and Bogey or not, we're still going to probably lose a lot of games. And if you look at what they've done in their last 10 games, Atlanta is 1-9 in their last 10. They are 23-28. Somehow they only have a game and a half lead over the Bulls. You look at the 76ers, they only have a 2.5 game lead over them. And they are going to continue to tumble down the Eastern Conference standings. Now, if we look at the overall standings, right, the overall league, when we're looking at the picks, right now they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th worst record in the league. Now, the Sixers are for sure going to catch them. The 76ers are for sure going to catch Atlanta, so we'll give them 9. Honestly, Portland is going to catch them because we'll talk about Portland. So that's going to be 8. I don't think anybody else, Bulls, Nets, Raptors, Hornets, Jazz, Pels, Wizards, I don't think anybody else is catching them over there. But just to think about that, the 8th best odds to get the number 1 pick overall will be going to the San Antonio Spurs. And it is just tough. It is tough stuff there for the Atlanta Hawks. So even though, yes, I don't know, I think what they got back in return for DeAndre Hunter and Bogdan Bogdanović is fine. I think that is fine. I think this is an overall loser energy. Speaking of loser energy, the Chicago Bulls. So they trade, let's revisit the Zach LaVine trade back, right? Their pick, the Chicago Bulls first round pick, is top 10 protected, right? And the San Antonio Spurs owned it. So if it was worse than top 10, they would lose their pick to the Spurs. But if it was better than a top 10 pick, they'd keep it. So what they did was they sent Zach LaVine to the Sacramento Kings. They got 3 players that they're intending to waive in Trey Jones, Zach Collins, and Kevin Huerter. And then they got their full rights to their pick this year, right? Look at this, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They got the 8th worst record. We already said the 76ers are going to catch them. They were going to keep their pick regardless. So they went out of their way. That's all they got back from Zach LaVine was the rights to their first-round pick that they were already going to have. That's all they got rid of. And so now they hold on to Nikola Vucevic, Vooch was actually putting up some good offensive numbers, and like teams needed him, but they felt like they weren't getting enough of a package for him. Well, what were you expecting? Now they have 155 guards on the team, right? Ayo Dosunmu, Kobe White. I think Trey Jones is still there. Josh Giddey. Lonzo Ball, who they extended, which shout out to Lonzo. Man, if you were the only fan base that should be madder than the Chicago Bulls right now is the Dallas Mavericks. Like, I don't know what they're doing. So that's an L for the Chicago Bulls. Sacramento Kings, it's just like it's hard to give them an L right now because they're just like a consistent L. I mean, LaVine is nice. LaVine's been putting up like borderline all-star an all-star season. He's been great and he's been healthy, but it doesn't make sense with Sacramento. It just doesn't. Regulator said Bulls don't have to tank now, which is important to them. Just a thought. What do you mean they don't? But they are. They're going to lose anyways. So why don't you get something better? Like whether they're trying to tank or not, they're going to lose games. I don't know. Let's go to Toronto. I think they make the loser column. Although our guy Top Shot Tesla in the Discord was trying to make a case for it. So let's revisit this Brandon Ingram deal, right? So it's Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round pick, I believe, and they got Brandon Ingram back. Let's go. Tesla spelled it out for me in the Discord because I was trying to figure out like what was the total Pascal Siakam deal. So basically, Pascal Siakam. Instead of signing Pascal Siakam, they traded him, and this is what they got in return. It's basically Brandon Ingram, Agbaji, and Jacoby Walter, but they also lost picks in that, too. There's also, like, another first-round pick that they lost in that. So, I don't understand what Toronto's doing. I really don't. Now, people were nervous that they're like, well, they're going to win too many games now with Ingram. Like, Ingram's not healthy enough to play. So, Toronto's going to keep losing games. I'm not worried about it. But, like, moving forward, their roster is Emmanuel Quickley, R.J. Barrett, Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, Scotty Barnes, Jacoby Walter. Jacoby's nice, right? Like I think he's nice, but I don't understand. Like with a guy like Scotty, right? This like versatile point forward type energy who can defend 1 through 5, maybe. Why don't they go get some shooting? And like maybe they will. I just don't understand. The Brandon Ingram fit doesn't make a ton of sense. And like, really, if this is what you were going to do with Ingram, why don't you just keep Siakam? Why don't you just pay Pascal Siakam? I don't know. I'm a loser. Boston Bay says, what's your take on the UMass student's 10K half court shot a race because his foot was on the line? I mean, well, I'm not going to take the insurance side. You pay the kid. Somebody was telling me about this. This was like a year ago, maybe, but somebody was saying like more often than not, these teams don't pay out, or whoever's sponsoring these half court shot or whatever. Like very rarely do they pay out what they're supposed to pay out. Yeah, it's so lame. That is so lame. Don't believe, but I think Schroeder and Warriors are losers separately. Well, Dennis Schroeder is in this weird. And I don't have all of the math for it, but Dennis Schroeder falls into this weird spot here where he makes just enough that he can't really get bought out because of like the collective bargaining agreement, because of the apron stuff. So he doesn't even really have like a lot of leverage to just like get bought out, go to another team or anything like that. So Dennis is kind of in no man's land because he's making like just a little bit too much. But yeah, Dennis now with Detroit. I mean, at least he's with Detroit, who's going to be trying to win games and not at Utah anymore. We can say that. Memphis Grizzlies. I'm going to put Memphis Grizzlies in the loser column. All right. They got rid of Marcus Smart for pretty much nothing. And they got rid of Jake LaRavia, who was actually a rotation guy and playing pretty good for them lately. Now, LaRavia, they've got so many guys, right? And Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams is coming back. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe that is part of it. But I do think like it was a little. I think they played that wrong, right? They just knew they weren't going to. They knew they weren't going to be able to re-sign him, and because they didn't extend him last season, he was able to just go somewhere else. He would have been able to just go somewhere else. They weren't going to be able to pay him. I feel like they kind of messed that situation up. And if you think about like what they gave up for the Marcus Smart deal, and I mean Marcus Smart just unhealthy, unlucky. And the Grizzlies are usually so good at just identifying and cultivating talent, and to kind of miss on that was tough. Also, it seemed like they were moving pieces around to go make a move at the deadline. And I don't know if you guys saw this while we were live, but Bob Myers, I guess on ESPN, accidentally my ass, by the way, but accidentally leaked that the Grizzlies were in contention for Kevin Durant. And that they were one of the teams that was were aggressively calling the Suns trying to make a move happen. And it didn't happen. So there you go. But anyways, I'm going to put Memphis in the loser column. I mentioned the Kings, right? Any other losers that like really stood out to you from this trade deadline? I think some Denver fans might say them because they didn't make any moves, but I don't know what was actually on the table for Denver. Pacers didn't really do anything right outside of James Wiseman. We gave up LaRavia, Tyus, and first-round picks for basically Marcus Smart to ride the bench for a year and a half. Yeah, that's tough, man. That's tough. But yeah, I don't know. Any other Orlando Magic is kind of in a free fall right now. And I think a lot of teams were hoping for the Magic to make a move, and they didn't. I know Dallas is fresh off of beating the Boston Celtics. I'm sorry. I still can't wrap my head around it. The Luka trade, to me, they're losers right now. Maybe Dallas, goes on an insane run. Anthony Davis should be back this weekend, I think. Luka comes back on Monday, I think, for the Lakers too. But maybe they go on a run and they win a title and then egg on my face. I'm the dumbass, but I still just can't wrap my head around that. Did you see there was a clip going around from the reporter? I think it was Allie LaForce from last night. Was it Allie LaForce? A sideline reporter was basically saying they were urging Memphis fans for like to be safe when when the Mavericks return home. Like that they were nervous they were going to beat the shit out of Nico Harris. Like, are they okay, people need to chill. Like they should not be trying to fight anybody, all right? Just like I told the guy last night in our basketball game. You got to relax. Nobody should be trying to fight anybody. But that is also, and again, unless there's something that I don't know, unless there's been some dangerous threats that have been put out on the Mavericks front office, if this is the Dallas Mavericks front office trying to get ahead of this, being like, hey, can everybody chill? That is some bullshit. You got to take that L, baby. Maybe, hold on. I mean, maybe they go on a run, right? Maybe they go on a run and it's fine. But I'm just saying. Is Brooklyn a loser for not being a seller and they're winning sometimes? I wouldn't call them a loser. I don't know if Cam Johnson, maybe they just want to hang on to Cam Johnson. I don't know. I think the price got a little too steep from Cam Johnson, and then you saw all those other big moves happening. And I also, like, outside of Memphis and Cleveland, I'm not sure who else was really targeting Cam Johnson. So I don't know. I wouldn't call them losers. Joker Rock said Mavs fans are big mad at Nico. People showing up to city council meetings to complain. That's beautiful. Honestly, I'm so out on just like government in general right now these days. Not even these days. I don't want to make that to sound political, but just like the last 10 years, that's how I felt. This is how we should be using local government. All right. Go out, complain about your team. I think that's how we should be using local government. Regulators said the Wizards did well. Did they make your winners list? Much like this entire Washington season, I forgot about them. But yeah, I think so. They basically don't. If they have players over 30, I don't think they're going to play too much. And Marcus Smart and Malcolm Brogdon, and who else? Chris Middleton, right? They still have all of those guys, but they did get a ton of assets. Yeah, Justine, I talked about the Hawks already. I think they were my first loser. Yeah, but I think that's it. I think that's it for winners and losers. But hey, shout out the NBA, man. They gave us a lot of fun. This season for the trade deadline. That was exciting. I felt like we needed that shot of adrenaline too, right? The Luka trade happened on Saturday, and we were like, we're back. We're back, huh? Let's go. Let's do some old man hoops from last night. Also, if you're just joining us, hey, do me a favor, like the stream, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you being here. Okay, let's get those likes up. Let's do some old man hoops because LeBron low key been on a heater here. Fresh off that 30-point trippy dubby in Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. Last night, the 40-year-old went for 40, and he was cooking early. 42 points, no center, right? They got no centers, Jackson Hayes only. Fine, I'll do the rebounds. 42, 17, and 8. 6 for 9. Nice. Shooting from 3. I'm sure you guys saw that. He started 5 for 5 from 3. Pulls up for a bomb-ass logo triple. And then credit Golden State, right? Because you look at the score at halftime, Warriors were up. What's that? What's 13 plus 7? 20. They were up 20 at halftime. Warriors come out, outscore them by 9 in the third and then 3 in the fourth. Made it a game. I think it got as close as like 5 or 6 there in the fourth quarter. But LeBron look at this starting 5. Dodo, Dorian Finney-Smith, Rui, LeBron, Jackson Hayes, Austin Reeves. They got 30 minutes from Gabe Vincent off the bench, 21 from Jared Vanderbilt off the bench. Basically a 7-man rotation last night with a little bit of Shake Milton, and they were able to get it done. Golden State, on the other hand, second night of a back-to-back. Steph, who's been like missing a lot of time on these back-to-backs, he comes out, plays 37 minutes in this game. Tough shooting night, though. Tough shooting night from Chef Curry. Yes, he had 37, 7, and 4 in this game. 6 for 20 from 3, 13 for 35 from the field. There was one sequence in the fourth quarter where he gets the ball at the top of the key, puts the 3 ball up, front rims it, and we've seen this happen hundreds and hundreds of times. We see this happen. Front comes up short on the first 3. They get the offensive board. Steph doesn't even really relocate, but just like right back at the top of the key, gets the ball again. We've seen this millions of times. Knocks down the 3, right? No, this time back rims it, misses back-to-back 3s. And that was kind of cookies after that. Game was over after that. Again, this starting 11 minutes from Quentin Post, who got the start. Moses Moody played 32 minutes in this game. He was okay, 14 and 5, only took 10 shots. Pat Spencer played 17 minutes. Now, they were pretty shorthanded on the back-to-back. Jimmy Butler obviously will fit into this starting lineup. But yeah, I don't know, man. Good win for the Lakers. Lakers now, 30 and 19, 17 and 6 at home. Just keep winning games. They just keep winning games. So good win for the Lakers. We'll look at some power ranks here in a second, and we can talk more about it. But let's go around the rest of the league here. DJ Local says LeBron like better get my points before Luka starts. Yeah, right. He's gonna. Yeah. Good take there. Let's talk about that Mavs Celtics game. Klay Thompson did a little share last night. If I could turn back time. Klay, 11 for 17 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, 25 points. 25 points, 4 dimes, 3 boards. Dante Sexton had 15. Kyrie had 4 steals in the first quarter, finished the game with 19 and 4. Gafford, 8 points, 15 boards, 5 dimes. Listen, no Anthony Davis in this game. Boston just foot off the gas, right? Boston no-showed a game at home against Dallas. I think Boston is staring at the All-Star break. I think they just, I thought the TNT crew did a good job talking about it last night after the games were over. It was just I don't know if the Celtics are vulnerable to, I think the rest of the league got a little bit better and caught up to Boston. And I don't think Boston is as laser focused as they have been. Everybody's coming at the champs, But that's a pretty good win for Dallas, who, again, super shorthanded, have been struggling as of late, needed a W, and that's a very big road win. I think all of the comments from Mavericks players after the games have been interesting lately. Klay Thompson was talking about Luka, and you can tell they are shook that the trade happened. Now they're fine. They'll be fine, and Anthony Davis is awesome, and so they're still going to rally around AD or anything like that. But you can tell it's not oh man, Luka might go. Everybody was shook by that. But anyways, good win for Dallas. Dallas moves to 27 and 25. Celtics dropped their 16th game of the year. I think what's so wild about this, so the Celtics are 36 and 16. 10 of those losses have come at home. Only 16 and 10 at home. Tatum with a real bad game, 17 and 4. Porzingis had 17 and 5. JB had 25 and 5. But just nothing from this team. Good win for Dallas. Let's go to freaking the Blazers, guys. Guys, the Portland Trail Blazers, legit. Oh, wait, Regulator 2 was saying, will PJ start at the 3 moving forward with AD? I think so. I think that's what they'll do. It does give him some fun, like, lineup versatility, right? Where you can start Gafford, AD, PJ, just go so big, and then Clay and Kyrie. It's asking a lot of PJ Washington defensively for some of their perimeter guys, but I kind of like it. But yeah, I think they will. All right, Portland. Dude, Portland has won, I believe, 10 in a row now. 10 in a row. They are 23 and 29. They beat the Sacramento Kings, who, again, I believe both of these teams are on a back-to-back. DeRozan had a really good game, 22 and 7. He had 3 blocks, too. Zach LaVine had 22 and 4. Monk, 21 and 7. But, like, man, like it's a different guy every night. Simons last night, 30.6 dimes. DeAndre Ayton continues his like string of good play. He had 18, 8, and 4 in this one. Jeremy Grant had 12. Tamani Kamara had 14 boards. And I mean, like, we're going to look at the standings in a second, but the Blazers, I think what's so interesting about this team, it's one thing if a team just starts getting hot from 3, right? And they go like variance, whatever, they're shooting better, they go on a run. What's very fascinating about this Portland team, who again was losing so many games, they seem to be locked in defensively. And that, to me, again, defense always screams like effort, camaraderie, right? Like clearly these guys like playing with each other if they're trying this hard on the defensive end. And maybe some of these guys are making a case for why they should continue to be in rotations. But Portland, like, sneaky deep now with, like, again, they're starting 5 of Kamara, Grant, Denny, DeAndre Ayton, and Simons. And now their bench of the rookie Klingon, Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson. Like, that's a pretty decent rotation. I mean, we're not talking about them going on a playoff run, but just the fact that they've been, like, playing well. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Portland could have easily let go of the rope and been like, hey, we just want to get a good pick, but they're not doing that. Let's hit the rest of last night's games and then we'll get out of here. I mean, we'll look at the standings for a second because I think there's some interesting stuff with Portland. But anyways, Minnesota wins 127-114. I don't know if you guys saw the quotes from Anthony Edwards after. Some great Ant-Man quotes about Dylan Brooks. I've never heard anyone speak out so like I don't know if eloquent is the right word. Dylan Brooks clearly poked the bear, and then Ant-Man gave him the business and then talked about some good stuff about Dylan Brooks afterwards, basically being like, listen, man, I love the competitiveness. Live for that. But he does dirty shit. And then explained it. It was great. It was a great quote by Ant-Man. Ant-Man is just the best. They come back in this game, right? Houston seemed like they were staying with it. It was going to come down to the wire. The Timberwolves outscore them 35-16 in the fourth quarter. Anthony Edwards in the fourth went nuts. He finishes the game 11 for 25, got to the line 15 times, knocking down 14 of them, finished with 41, 7, and 6. The bigs of Rudy and Nas combined for 28 points and 22 boards. And again, like this, and then the rookie or second year guy, Jalen Clark, he gave him 17 points and 3 boards in 19 minutes off the bench. Minnesota is like finding a little rhythm here, and I don't want to, this doesn't need to be dunking on Julius Randle, but the rotation, everybody seems to understand their role and buy in a little bit more here with the 5 that they've been throwing out there right now. So good win. Houston continues to stumble down a little bit. Tari Eason moved into the starting lineup. The guy from a fantasy perspective was great. When we talk live before lock tonight, he made the thumbnail. But he had 5 stocks last night, 5 steals and 3 blocks. Jalen Green was on a heater, 28 points, 6 boards and 5 dimes. Şengün gave a double-double with 16 and 10. Amen Thompson, kind of a ho-hum night, 16 and 5. But good win for Minnesota. Houston now 32 and 19. And then I think the last game we got 2 games left. Denver ran away with it in the second half. Orlando was trying to compete. They had a 1-point lead after the first, but got outscored by 10 and then 16 in the second and third. Denver now moves to 33 and 19. Orlando just continues. 3 games under 500 now. Wild. Joker was awesome. Also, a little love. I know we talked about the shitty Porter. Let's give some Michael Porter Jr. love. Let's do it where the Porters drop.
We're the Porters. We share the crowd of up and down performers. Throwing things and buzzer beater corners. And one of us is playing for the Warriors. We're juniors and we're the Porters.
Yeah, I agree with you, by the way. Chris Finch has been playing well. Michael Porter Jr., though, been coaching that team well. Michael Porter Jr., man, it's like third game in a row where he's been cooking like this. No Jamal Murray in this game, no problem. MPJ goes for 30 and 7. Good sign for the Denver Nuggets. Aaron Gordon played a back-to-back. I assumed he wasn't going to play, the back-to-back, and he did. Only played 23 minutes, but that's because his game got out of hand. He didn't have to play in the fourth quarter. Joker, 31 minutes, 28, 12, and 10, just like another triple-double from him. Orlando continues to struggle, man. Paolo just like 6 for 14 from the field. Franz 6 for 17 from the field. Just no offense from this team. We'll talk about them in a little bit more. And then last but not least, Pacers, listen, this was a pretty gutsy win on the road. Clippers at home, right? They get up 20. The Pacers give up 42 points in the first quarter. They're down 20 and then just get hot in the second quarter, outscoring them 42-19. And then a big 11-point gap in the fourth quarter. They win the fourth 35-24, final 119-112. Halliburton's been weird, man. He had a better second half, but basically in a game and a half, right? The last game they played in the first half of last night's game, he had scored 2 points, but then scored 12 in the second half. Spicy P with 33 and 11, and then Benny Mathurin, Canadian God, 8 for 12 from the line, 8 for 13 from the field, 25, 6 and 4. Pretty good. That's an impressive road win for Indiana. For them to both, he deserves the All-Star bid. I agree, man. He's been their best player. Pascal Siakam has been the Indiana Pacers' best player. And we talked about this on HoopSense, which again, plug in HoopSense. Thank you, Boston Base, for plugging it in the chat. The difference between Indiana, we called it out early on when they were struggling. And Trey said maybe they need an identity shift. And since then, it's been clear Siakam's been their best player, and they've gone from this high-octane offense to like a lockdown defensive team. And again, they gave up 42 points in the first quarter, but then 112 total. So good stuff from Indiana. Good win there. All right, let's go over to the standings, and let's do some, let's go to some power rankings here. What's funny? I wasn't sure if we were going to have enough for a full show today since we talked about so much of this stuff yesterday. And we do. All right, let's do the West because I think this is a little bit more interesting. So Denver now, with Houston going 4-6 in their last 10, they've lost 5 in a row. Denver's won 5 in a row. We've had the flippening. Denver moves into the 3 seed here. They're actually only 2.5 back from the 2 seed, but Memphis has been just as hot. They're 9-1 in their last 10, winners of 4 in a row. So they're in the 2 seed. But the Rockets, again, the Rockets seem to have, it was they're either going to be the 2 seed or the 3 seed. Well, don't look now. They are now close to losing home court advantage here in the playoffs as the Lakers, 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 4 in a row. It'll be weird to see how they shake out with the addition of Luka and Mark Williams, but they're now freaking 1 game out from hosting a first-round playoff series. Timberwolves, after being like a 500 team for a while, they are now 7-3 in their last 10. They move into the 6 seed. They caught the Clippers with that loss. And now I think is where it gets interesting. So the Mavericks, who, again, the fact that they're 4-6 in their last 10 with barely having any healthy bodies is pretty impressive. They're still 2 games over 500, a game and a half out of the Clippers. I think, to me, this is your top 8. In my opinion, this is your top 8. OKC, Memphis, Denver, Houston, Lakers, Timberwolves, and Clippers. Now, I know it's still pretty close. And then Mavericks, excuse me. And then I think there's the 9, 10, 11, 12. And honestly, we got to say 13 now. We have to say 13 now, which is crazy. Because you have the Suns, who apparently, according to Ramona Shelburne, the vibes in Phoenix are bad. They accidentally put KD on the market after Bradley. So they're like, Bradley Beal, we want to get rid of you. And Beal's like, no, I have a no trade clause. I want to hang out here. And then they were like, all right, we'll see if KD wants to get out of here. We'll try to move him. KD's like, I don't want to go anywhere either. So now they've pissed off everybody on the team. They got rid of Yusuf Nurkic and had to attach a pick to it to get Micic back. Hell yeah, Vasily Micic, baby, cook. And who is probably not going to play at all, right? The vibes in Phoenix are bad. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose at home tonight to the Utah Jazz. And I know they're 9.5-point favorites right now, but God, it looks rough for them right now. The Sacramento Kings, since this trade deadline, have now lost, or since making those moves, have lost 2 games. They're now 1 game under 500. Golden State Warriors, who were 4-6 in their last 10, but added Jimmy Butler. They now are to a 1 game under 500 as well. Only a half game back from the Suns. And then the San Antonio Spurs, we mentioned, right, who add Fox, only a game and a half back from the Kings and the Warriors. And then the fucking Trailblazers. I'm sorry, the Blazers won 6 in a row. 6 in a row, 9-1 in their last 10. I think they're 10-1 in their last 11. They're only a game behind the Spurs, 2.5 out. So listen, I don't think we're going to be saying, hey, holy shit, the Blazers are in the play-in. But if we look at, let's look at the strength of schedule here the rest of the way out, because I think that's kind of fun. Let me switch the screen that I'm sharing here. Yeah, send Book home to Detroit. There we go. If Nico gets KD in the offseason, will that save his job? Maybe. I mean, if they, he's going to be extension eligible. And if he doesn't extend, that'll tell us everything we need to know. I know. I mean, they just have to go on a playoff run, I think, and that will save his job too. So we'll see. All right, let's do the remaining strength of schedule here for the teams that we're talking about. So Phoenix has the toughest strength of schedule. They got the toughest game left. Phoenix has the toughest schedule left. They have 32 games left. 2 against the Celtics, 3 against the Grizz, 2 against the Nuggets, 1 against the Knicks, Cavs, OKC. Toughest schedule of everybody else. And we look at the other play-in teams that we were talking about. Phoenix by far the hardest schedule. Then Portland's the next one that's up. Sacramento's after that. If we look at the easiest schedules the rest of the way, you see Toronto, Washington, Philly, Orlando. Not a lot of Western Conference teams. Golden State right there. So if you had to guess of that range of like Portland, San Antonio, Golden State, Sacramento. Wait, did I say sorry. Phoenix, Sacramento, Golden State, San Antonio, Portland Trailblazers. There's 5 teams, only 2 get into the play-in. I'm going to assume Clippers, Mavs, Wolves, Lakers, Rockets, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Thunder locked in. Who are the 2 teams that miss? Put it in the chat. Let me read them off again. The Phoenix Suns, who currently have a half-game lead over the Kings. That's team number 2. The Warriors, they also have a half game. The Suns also have a half-game lead over the Warriors. The Warriors are the 3rd team. They have 2-game lead over the Spurs, and then a 3-game lead over the Blazers. Who are the 2 teams that don't make it? I think the Blazers don't make it. I don't think the Blazers make it. I think the Suns are the other team. Oh, we need 3. I'm sorry. We're picking the 2 teams that do make it. I think it's going to be the Warriors. I think it's going to be the Warriors and the Spurs. I actually think we're going to get the Spurs in there because, again, Suns the hardest schedule the rest of the way out with bad vibes. Even if they had an easy schedule, I don't think they were going to make it. And the Kings I can't figure out. So I think I'm going to go Golden State and San Antonio get in. Wild stuff, man. Wild stuff here. Eastern Conference I don't think is as fun. I'll go back over there. Eastern Conference I don't think is as fun. Let's go over to the standings on the east side of things. Like the Bulls are going to fall out to the Sixers. The one interesting thing is like, do the Hawks fall past the Bulls if that happens? But the Magic, man, 2-8 in their last 10. They're now an 8 seed. I mean, they're still going to make the play-in, but I could see them not getting into a first-round series. And then again, Cavs kind of running away with the first seed, with the number 1 seed, 5.5 game lead. Knicks 1.5 game back of the Celtics. And then it's like Pacers, Bucks. Maybe the Bucks catch the Pacers, but I don't know, man. I don't really trust what the Bucks are doing either. So spicy, baby. Spicy stuff. All right. I don't really have an underdog pick 'em. I think I'm going to save it for live before lock tonight. I didn't lock in my picks. I didn't look at them. So we're going to save it for tonight. We'll save it for live before lock. We'll be back 5 p.m. 5 p.m. for live before lock on the Elite Fantasy Hoops channel. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. If you're first time here, thanks for being here. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you guys like the video. Live before lock at 5. Hoop Sense on the Count the Dinks channel. That'll be dropping later today. Maybe Monday, but I think later today. And then we'll be back with the NBA bit on Monday. But what a fun week, man. Needed it. Just like adrenaline. Love it. All right. Have a good weekend. We out.